And we're live. It seems like really washed out, doesn't it? We need the light over there. I forgot.
You can tell we don't do this often. Hi, Marcy.
That's better. Marcy's on already? Welcome to the Dustin and Cassie Show, episode number 63, starring Dustin and Cassie. And looks like we already have two people in the chat room. Hey, Marcy. Hey, Steven. She's there. Just want to say, first of all, hope everybody had a happy Shavout. If yours was today, if yours was Friday, well, you were on the wrong calendar. No.
How can it be on Friday?
There are some people that their account is on a Friday.
Okay.
So, anyway, just poking a little fun at the calendar because we don't really care until Yeshua comes and sets it straight. We all can just guess on when we think it is. I got coffee tonight, drinking some coffee. And she's plugging her nose. I'm sorry. The microphone is over here. My bad. There we go. That's better. Sorry, folks. Probably can hear us better now, hopefully. Hey, Dallas is there. He said, hey, y'all, we aren't staying long. I got to get up soon for work. And then, man, I'm having a bad night. I saw your video, man, and I shared it. But it sounds like from the comment, I haven't got to finish reading through all the comments, but it sounds like y'all got a pretty good, awesome sheriff there in Polk County. So anyway, are you going to plug your nose the whole time?
It stinks.
So, but Dallas, we're glad that you tuned in for the little bit that you can. Appreciate that. So, okay, so let's get into our week. So last week we said that Cassie was going to go with me for the day on Monday.
Because Cassie was mean.
And so she was just going to go with me on Monday since I was just going up to the St. Louis area and then coming back the next day. Well.
Will you find me some oil, please? I don't care. Lavender, peppermint.
They're all right there behind you. Turn around. They're right there in the cabinet. He starts singing Totally Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler.
I hate the smell of coffee.
I'm sorry.
It makes me want to vomit.
Well, that'd make for great content.
Just hand me my red bag.
Anyways, so she went with me on Monday.
You can see how well it went since he knows I hate coffee and he's drinking it next to me.
I drank it next to her all week, actually.
Yeah, but not this close proximity. Here we go. So I went with you all week.
Yep, she went with me all week. Sorry, I'm going to try to pound my coffee so she doesn't smell it anymore.
You don't need to pound it. Enjoy it. I don't smell it now. I don't smell it. I smell peppermint now. It went up my nose and my eyeballs.
So Marcy asked, how was it? Fun, I bet.
There was parts of it that was fun, and there was parts of it that was a little bit of a pain.
Like the seat?
Like the seat. I took a picture of it, and I posted it online. It's not as big as, like, the space isn't as big as what the picture made it seem.
Yeah, the picture, that camera angle it looked like there was like this much room between us. And in actuality, she can sit in the passenger seat and put her feet in my lap in the driver's seat.
I did. I got a foot massage while he was driving down the road.
Because it only takes one hand to hold the steering wheel, so you have another hand free to massage feet. Peppermint white mocha, that actually sounds pretty good. But yeah, so it was that lens that you use or whatever angle that your camera setting
it was just the regular camera, but it just was what it was. But
yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of room in there for a truck. And not having the gear shifter in the middle makes a big difference.
Yeah, it means you could, yeah.
Like, that makes a big difference. His truck's an automatic.
Plus, also, my truck, and I don't know why, but like the Freightliners have a thing on the floor next to the driver's seat it's this plastic thing anyway. It's about like this. And it's meant to be able to put like a thermos there, like a coffee thermos. You can lay it down in there, so it's right there, and it kind of sits at an angle. Or there's a round spot where you could kind of treat it like a cup holder as well. I don't have a thermos, and I would never use it as a cup holder down there. And it just takes up, like this much space on the floor right next to the seat. So I removed that, I don't know, like 10 months ago or, maybe more like a year ago. Or at least a year ago. So now all I smell was that peppermint?
Well, breathe.
Breathe. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's all I smell now too. I don't even smell my coffee.
I don't smell your coffee either.
Was there coffee in my breath?
Nope. All I smell is breathe.
Okay. So, what else about?
So the front part where my legs were a little bit cramped too, because I'm tall.
Which I knew that because when I train guys, I have that same issue. My legs get cramped up. And
so what I would do is turn sideways and put my feet over on top because my feet swelled up a lot. And so like my shoes typically fall off of me, but when I was on the truck, like they were tight getting on my flip-flops. And so that was part of the reason I would put my feet up on his lap to help with circulation. And he's like a stickler about me not laying in the back while he's driving down the road, which is kind of weird because he wasn't like that before. So I don't know why that's changed. I don't know if it's just because we have a kid or what. Like, your priorities later change. You don't do things as reckless.
Obviously, I love you more now than I did back then.
Well, apparently. So, which is stupid because I'm worth more money now than I was back then.
So it tells you the love's not about money.
Yeah. It's just about your offspring.
I didn't say that.
So, so my feet swelled up a lot, which wasn't nice. But there was a lot of good conversation. There was one day we had crying and yelling and then smiles. But it was what we needed. Like we needed to be in a area where neither one of us could run away or walk away. And we didn't have ears to listen to what we needed to talk about.
You mean other ears other than our own?
Yes. So, so it was good. And the bed was really small.
Told you.
But we made it work the whole week and we would make it work again. We actually decided that this will be something that we do maybe once every couple months.
So about 1 week every couple months, I'm not going to get any sleep.
You got sleep. You got more sleep than I did. We just have to work out some kinks because there's a couple ideas that I have for the truck when I go that will help with me sleeping on the opposite end.
The first night we slept right next to each other, curled up next to each other, and we both like tossed and turned and rotated and like did not,
Like if he moves, I'm waking up. If I move, he's waking up.
The second night
we slept good.
The second night we slept good. We like slept on our sides. I had my arms wrapped around her and like slept that way all night long.
Mm-hmm.
But then I woke up with like a kink in my shoulder and like it hurt to turn this way. Like it was like I almost had to turn my whole body to look like in this mirror over here and everything. Then the third night, that was the night we had pizza, wasn't it?
Yeah, we both woke up. It was
the
horrible.
third night, we had a pizza, and we both woke up with horrible heartburn. And I had no digestion oil on. Like, I have a little bag that's like my emergency oils. By the way, do we have more digestion oil to take?
I don't know. I had to look.
Anyway, so I was out of digestion oil, so had nothing to kill the heartburn. So I ended up sitting up in the bed, sleeping in with my head laid up against the corner. She was laying down at the other end. And then the last night we slept. Did we start out sleeping opposite ends, or?
I let you sleep. And then
Oh, that's right. I laid down. She stayed up making zeets. I laid down. And for was it probably a couple hours, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then she crawled in bed, but she put her head at the other end. So it's hard for two people.
Two fat people.
I wasn't gonna say that, but
it's reality.
To sleep side by side in a twin size bed.
If there were certain things that we could move around, it would be a little bit better.
Like what?
Like the refrigerator. If I would have had another pillow to have on that fridge to make it level with the bed, I could have slept across there. Or had a pillow on the seatbelt part of the bed.
Yeah.
Because that like dug up into my side. I would do it again. It was fun. It was nice to get away from everything and for us to just, even though he was working and he was like boom, 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 it still was nice to like be us.
And we got to 6 states in 5 days. Hey, Ben. So Monday we left, and the plan was to drive all the way to St. Louis.
But we left late.
We left late. So we stopped. It was in Sullivan, right?
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in Sullivan, Missouri, which Ben should be familiar with that. I think they stopped there on their way down last time for Shavout. We stopped in Sullivan, stayed the night there, and then got up the next morning, drove in up to Granite City, Illinois. So we had Missouri and Illinois. Then Tuesday, after we made that delivery, came back, and we went to Atwood, Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
But we only made it to Russellville. We made it all the way to Russellville, Arkansas. So then Wednesday got up, drove from Russellville, Arkansas, all the way to Atwood, Tennessee, and then right back to Russellville Wednesday night. Stopped, yes, familiar, no. I meant familiar like you know of the town at the very least. So Wednesday, it was Russellville to Atwood, Tennessee, and back, which Atwood, Tennessee is like an hour and a half northeast of Memphis, which actually that's the same place I went to that day that I got rear-ended by that car. But I was going to the Pilot truck stop south of there in Jackson, Tennessee when I got rear-ended. So Wednesday, Atwood, Tennessee, back to Russellville. Thursday, got up, came back up, picked up a load, delivered to Tulsa. So now we have Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Delivered to Tulsa, came back, and then got a load to Mississippi and drove back to, where did we go to? Dumas, all the way down to Dumas, Arkansas, which is south of Pine Bluff. Stayed there that night, got up Friday morning, drove over to Greenwood, Mississippi, and then drove all the way back up here. So 6 states, 5 days, just shy of 2,700 miles, which is pretty impressive for not leaving until Monday. It was like 3 o'clock, I think it was, or 4 o'clock when we left the house on Monday.
Like almost 5.
No, when we left the house.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 5 when we left there.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Anyway, still, it's pretty impressive that many miles for basically 4.5 days worth of work. So yeah. And then where are you going to look and see?
5:13 was when you were in the truck, so I was on my way to you.
Okay. She was looking at Marco Polo. So anything else about the week on the truck?
I made new zeet seats. I took my board and took my stuff, and I made zeet seats.
You got this new, like...
Somebody sent me a message, and I'm actually working with her on some stuff. And she has, like, zeet seat borders that she sells. And so I'm going to sell them on my website for her. And like seat clips. And so she sent me a message. She's like, I liked I like the pair
Marcy
that
said,
I have
yay,
from
new
you.
zeet seats.
She's like, I like the pair that I have from you, and I want to see if we can make a trade for some stuff that she has. She has her own business. It's called More Than a Fig Leaf. And she sells, like, she makes linen clothes and stuff like that. And so
hey, Jessica.
I actually have a skirt from her that it's super comfy. But she sells seat borders, and so I'm gonna sell them on my site for her. So she asked if I wanted to trade for a set of zeet seats for something that she has, and so I told her sure. And so she sent me a picture of some zeet seats that she wanted, but I didn't know how to do the twist that was on there. And
because it's like a double helix twist, isn't it?
Yeah, she didn't even know like that there was the twist. She just wanted the colors. And so anyways, she found a tutorial on how to do it. And so she told me, and so I went and looked, and I made those on the truck, and I learned it rather quickly. But let me tell you, it's hard trying to do stuff when you're bouncing. It's not easy.
Ben asked, what's a zeet seat border?
So they're like clips. Do you have any?
No.
Let me look. Actually, I have pictures. So they're like clips that you hook your zeet seats on. But they're different. She has different ones. I gotta go through her pictures and look. So these are ones that she makes, and how it goes onto your belt loop. And then there's a little spot, where you tie your zeet seat into. She has those. And then she also has the like alligator clips. That's an alligator clip. So here's another up close. So basically, it snaps onto your belt loop. And then you tie your zeet seat onto there like you would your belt loop.
The Dilbert zeet seat problem?
What's a Dilbert?
What's a Dilbert zeet seat problem? I've heard of Dilbert, the comic book character.
So these are the ones that I made. You can see the twist. It's 2 different colors.
Oh, he says, yeah, when your zeet seats stick up like Dilbert's tie. Yeah, because Dilbert's tie, the bottom of his tie always sticks up. I don't have that problem with my zeet seat sticking up.
Anyway, so I'll be making ones like these, different colors and stuff, for the site. I'll be doing, hopefully this week, my plan is to finish the garden and DNA zeet seats. So my plan is to finish the garden and then to do some of these different styles and different colors. Speaking of DNA, so
I just now actually looked at this up close and saw that. So like here, there's a chain of green with pink, and then there's a chain of pink with green. I was just looking at the
twist.
The twist, yeah.
Yeah, but it's two different things.
I didn't look at them that closely.
It's cool.
It is cool. And you just figured out how to do that from a video?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, a few weeks ago, I sent my DNA in to Dr. Alfonso Monzo the third.
The third.
I'm gonna make sure I say it correctly. He is out of Ohio, and he's a Torah guy. But he is a natural path doctor. And so Dustin and I talked about it, and we said, because we've been leery about, just handing our DNA over to somebody. And so we went ahead and did it because we wanted to get like some answers on some stuff with me. And I feel like since we've started the show, it's been nothing but medical stuff. Like we've been trying different things the last couple of years and just trying to figure out, okay, what's the problems? What is the root of the problem? Like that's the key, is finding the root of the problem to fix the root of the problem so that other things will fall into place and be good. And so we got the results on Wednesday or Thursday this week for the testing. This week we will have a conversation with him about all of this stuff. But basically my body sucks. It's messed up. There's a lot of things wrong. But one of the things that we kind of we needed to know was that I do have MTHFR, and is what we kind of thought maybe that I had because my mom has it. But we didn't know for sure, and it is hereditary. So there was a high chance that I had it.
Some of you may be asking, what is MTHFR? The MTHFR stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. Yeah, that's right. No, methylene. I said that wrong. Methylene tetrahydrofolate. There we go. Methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase.
So what does it mean?
It says MTHFR gene provides instructions for making an enzyme called methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. The enzyme plays a role in processing amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. MTHFR is important for a chemical reaction involving the vitamin folate, also called vitamin B9. Specifically, this enzyme converts a form of folate called 5,10 methylene tetrahydrofolate to a different form of folate called 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. This is the primary form of a folate found in the blood and is necessary for the multi-step process that converts the amino acid homocysteine to another amino acid, methionine. The body uses methionine to make proteins and other important compounds. So this is like one of the necessary enzymes for the basic building blocks of your body.
So if you have it, it causes a lot of issues.
If you have this mutation.
I
mean, MTHFR, that enzyme is something you're supposed to have in your body, but you have a gene mutation with this.
So it's basically shut off. So my mom has a double mutation. So I have two different ones that both have double mutation. So I also have this other thing that's called the MTHFD, which I'm still learning about that because I don't know anything about that. I've never heard of that one before. But with the MTHFR, basically my body does not, one, it doesn't detox properly. And two, it doesn't properly, what's the word?
process
the vitamins and things. And so, like, if I take like B vitamins that is in food, my body basically rejects it.
Because it doesn't know how to process it.
It doesn't know how to take it. And so you have to take supplements, but you have to take certain supplements with folate and not folic acid. And so we kind of thought that I had it because my mom, but we wasn't for sure. Now we're for sure that we know that I do. So now we can try to do things to fix it. And when I've talked to him before about it months ago, he says that he believes that they can be turned on and turned off. And so if mine are turned off, then he believes that there's a potential of turning it back on. Right? That's what he said at the.
Yes.
So.
Hey, JD.
So that is the goal, is to see if we can, 1, turn it back on, and 2, to do a detox where my body will actually do like a hardcore detox. Because when we did the toxicity report, there was 11 different toxins, and a normal person averages like 4 to 5, and I have 11.
But and like in one of the videos, he says you can have, I mean, he's seen people that have
like
15, 16, 18.
Mm-hmm. Something like the worst case, but it's still a lot. And he puts them in order of like what's the worst, the worst to like the ones that's not so bad. And ironically enough, vaccine toxins was number 3. So, yeah. So we're going to work on that. I'm probably going to go through a really hardcore detox. And my family's probably going to hate me.
So very soon there'll be a week where Eli's on the road with me for his own safety. No,
no, I will need somebody here in case I get super sick. But it's not going to be fun, and I already know. But we agreed that whatever he told us to do, basically we're trusting him, and whatever he tells us to do, we're going to do 100%. What?
Sorry, I was going to say, in case you guys don't know who Dr. Alfonso Manzo is, he was one of the doctors that was in the Way documentary, which you didn't realize that until today. I didn't know that until today. There was 2 different, from what of my memory, there was 2 different doctors in that. There was the one guy that was a nutritionist, and then there was the other one, which would have been Dr. Alfonso Manzo.
So, one of the other things that was in the report is like basically your organs.
Wise idea, Ben.
Yeah. So, one of the things is they also look at your organs and I do know a few, that's true. So they check your organs and different things, and they list from like worst to not as bad. And my top one was my hypothalamus and my pituitary gland, which are huge with
your hormones and all that.
With hormones and stuff like that. Second was cardio, my heart. And there was my joints was one, which would explain all of my pain and stuff that I deal with on a regular basis.
Dang, you should delete some emails.
I thought that I had deleted some emails.
You should star it too so it stands out. And that way you can get to it quicker. Ben asked if that would mess your thyroid up too.
Mm-hmm. And so, let's see. Oh, I went too far.
You should print that thing out.
I know, we need to. So my pituitary, my hypothalamus, cardio, my female, which we already knew, my reproductive system, which again also goes with the pituitary, my pancreas, all my blood sugar issues, joints and
lymph nodes.
Yeah. Which would explain like my I don't want to say my chronic pain, but would explain the pain and stiffness and stuff that I feel on a regular basis. My bladder, which kind of threw me off. Small intestine, and then my central nervous system. So those were like the 7 things that were in the either really bad, they're the weak, or they're stressed. So I've had my pituitary gland checked years ago, and they said it was fine. I've also had my thyroid checked, and they said it was fine. I agree totally with Lauren. So that's kind of the key, is for me to feel better. So it has different deficiencies like minerals and vitamins, enzymes.
Minerals, it says specifically manganese and chromium, vitamins B2, B6, and choline.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
And then enzymes, what is that? Lipase?
I have no idea.
Anyways.
But it also gives a structural misalignment, like things in your body that are not right. And this was one of the things that like I kind of left out in my report because I wanted to see.
Ben says chromium is a blood sugar stabilizer. Huh.
There you go. Was my lumbar 2 is one of the ones that I have the most issues with in my back.
So isn't that crazy that from their DNA, just from your DNA, he's able to know that she has that issue?
So, and then it gives a hormone imbalance.
You should say that word.
Nope, I'm not going to. And so the number one...
Can I say it?
No,
okay.
Don't embarrass me. The number 1 was my pituitary.
Bye, Marcy. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
So my number 1 was pituitary and thyroid gland. Number 2 was melatonin. And then it gives a list of other things, but that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But the pituitary obviously is messed up, since that's the number 1 thing. So of course the hormone for all that would be imbalanced. But the melatonin was interesting because I have sleep issues. So it drives him crazy. He's like, just go to sleep. And I'm like, I can't. I literally, it doesn't work that way with me. Totally doesn't work that way with me.
Meaning she has a lack of melatonin, Ben, so therefore she doesn't go to sleep.
Yeah. So these are
right,
the things
that's how
that
melatonin is supposed to help you sleep.
Mm-hmm. Then there was some like the toxins and stuff is interesting because he talks about like weaponized toxins and things like that. And so we don't understand any of that yet. We haven't talked to him. So I can take melatonin, but it really doesn't help me too much. So the interesting thing though was that there's also a food sensitivity. Literally there's 3 pages. 3 pages of food sensitivities. One of them, the very first one, is chicken. And the meat or burger, beef, and turkey is all on there. I'm like, so the 3 meats that I eat, I can't eat. So, but the cool thing about the sensitivities is that they can be reversed. So that will be nice. So we'll probably be like plant-based for a month or 2. And then we'll slowly be able to introduce foods back into my diet and see which ones have an effect on me and not. But today, Angela said, she said, you're being punished for Dustin's hatred towards vegans. Like,
I don't hate vegans.
It wasn't. She didn't say like you hate vegans.
I think
like,
vegans taste delicious. Cows and deer, and they're amazing. They taste awesome.
But peanuts was on here. But the thing that was the best was coffee. Coffee's on there.
So that's one we'll be getting reversed for sure.
I've always said it makes me get a headache. Like, it gives me a headache and it makes me feel nauseous.
And then the exact opposite. If I don't drink it, I'll end up with a headache.
All these years, he's like, you just need to suck it up and grow up. Coffee's on there, dude. It's sensitive to my stomach, I guess. Another thing that I thought was interesting was ketchup. Ketchup is another food that I don't really like. It upsets my stomach. The other one that threw us off was the diesel exhaust fluid.
Now this is just, it's not saying like necessarily that, she'll have a reaction to this. It's like they have like the chemical frequencies for these things, and they test these chemical frequencies with your DNA and to see how your body would respond to that. So her body would have an adverse reaction to it, which diesel exhaust fluid is basically pee. Really, it's mostly urea.
But I'm just saying, like, I just thought that was interesting. And the reason I think the diesel...
And it's not that you would be drinking that, Ben. It's just that your body would have a reaction to it. Even if you, like, touch it or smell it
or whatever. But I think it's interesting because he's a truck driver. He's around that stuff. And so, and at some point in time, basically what this means is that at some point in time, one of these things or these things, basically my body was like, oh, nope, don't like that. Whether it was a trigger from something else, whatever, we don't know. But it's
because he did say in the one video that I watched that sometimes what can happen is, like with a food item, for say, you could be under major stress over something else and eat a food item, and your body will mislabel that food item as the stressor that's causing that issue. And so then going forward, your body will have an adverse reaction or a negative reaction towards that food item. And so he said what you have to do is you have to go back and basically reset it. And so there's a way to do that by just using the frequency of that food item. You don't actually have to ingest the food itself, but you use the frequency of the food item tied in with something else. I forget what it is. And it resets the body to say, hey, okay, this is good for us. We don't need to have an adverse reaction to this.
But like there's peppers and okra. Flour I'm okay with. I'm okay with not having that. Let's see, other things. Cabbage is on here. That one kind of sucks. Pineapples, asparagus, cauliflower. Any kind of eggs.
Microwave
was another one that was on there. Mango, nectarines, chia seeds, pumpkins, peas, wheat, coconut milk, rice milk, carrot, and ant. We have lots of ants right now in the house. It's driving me nuts. Turkey, wheat, peaches, and then beef, eggs, ketchup, sesame seeds, coffee, peanuts, rabbit, which isn't a big deal, and then some other stuff. Yeah.
So basically cardboard.
No, because I can eat vegetables. I can eat some vegetables. I just can't eat all vegetables.
Lettuce topped cardboard.
And tomatoes. I can do tomatoes. So we'll see what he says, because right now we're just assuming that like these foods will be cut off for a while.
You know what happens when you assume.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just picking.
But one of the ones that I thought was pretty interesting, I'm going to try to go up and find it. It is like so many things. But headaches was one of the things that was in a lot of these. as symptoms. And so I thought that was interesting because I always get headaches. And as time has gone on for a while now, my vision has gotten worse. Like I get super, if it's far away, it gets blurry and I can't necessarily, like we went to Subway and I couldn't see the sign to like see different foods that they have. And in a way, it's kind of embarrassing to say, hey, honey, I can't read that. It's too far away and it's too blurry, but it's just what it was.
I filled my cup up with water.
But the hypothalamus, the symptoms include depression, decreased something drive. That's all I'm going to say since it's a kid-friendly show. Behavioral changes in sleep pattern, fatigue, anger, digestive problems, or hormonal imbalances. I literally have every single one of those. And that was number 1 on my list. And literally, like, it totally fit me to a T. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to get, like, actually sit down and talk with him. I wish that he would be able to be here, but he's not going to. And so just to be able to sit with him and talk with him and figure out a game plan. So that we can get to working on this baby.
Gotta work on this baby first.
Yeah. Anyways. So that was the other thing that we got this week.
Okay. What else was we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, Shavout. So Shavout was today. We had a good time. We went up to Missouri.
There's some bananas and some oranges. No.
And yeah, it was good.
There was a lot of people.
There was a lot of people there.
I think they said they counted like 175 or something.
I didn't think we were going to talk about that.
It was a lot of people. It's already done and over with, so now who cares? It's not like the cops can show up and break it up.
There was a bounce house. Eli did not go on it.
Nope. As soon as we pulled up and I saw that thing, I said, it's not happening. So for those of you who don't know, 2 years ago, Eli broke his arm at their house on a bounce house.
He went down the slide on a bounce house, and his arm, this arm, right? Right arm?
Yeah.
His arm went underneath of him and twisted like that. And was it this?
He
this
cracked
one,
his ulna and he broke his radius.
This one he broke. I think this one's the radius on the inside, right? And the ulna's on the outside. I'm pretty sure he broke this one, and then he cracked this one here.
He broke the radius and he cracked the ulna.
So somebody tell me which one's which. Is the radius here and the ulna here, or radius here and ulna here? Lauren always does that too, but for illness reasons, not broken bones. Oh, not going on the bounce house.
I was like, nope, not happening. Not doing it. And then they actually had a limit this year of 5 and under.
And then it went to 13 and under.
Huh?
And then it went to 13 and under.
Yeah, and then it went older kids could do it, but I still said no.
Yeah, Lisa made an announcement. She said, okay, anybody 6 and up can go on the bounce house. And then Cassie chimed in, and Lisa goes back on the microphone and says, sorry, Eli, Mama says no.
Nuh-uh.
Ben says no, his mom was talking about buying one.
I like for the regular bounce house and not the slide, I would totally be okay with it with smaller kids. But the slide part, I wouldn't because, we learned our lesson. No. Go drink some water and get ready for bed. So, what else? You said you were going to talk about Paul.
Oh, right. Okay. So, I didn't know if there was anything else with Shavout before we jump into that.
Nope, it was a fun time. We had lots of fun. It was a long day because it's a long drive up there, but it was fun.
We were supposed to leave here at 9. We had our alarm set to get up at 7:30. She had her alarm set to get up at 7:30.
I woke up at 7 and then went back to sleep, and then the alarm went off at 7:30, and I shut it off till 7:45.
Yeah, so we didn't leave here till almost 9:30, so we were late. We were a little bit late. No, 9:15. Sorry, 9:15. But JD says they are driving home now.
Yeah, it was good to see you guys.
Yes, it was.
Did you get to sit and talk with them? I didn't.
Mm-mm.
We should have sat.
I talked to JD for a little bit when they first got there. But
y'all will have to come hang out.
Who's that?
They were at Shavout this past year. They were the family that had the teepee looking tent.
There's a lot of people that had TP looking.
No. Okay, well, obviously it's not the Wilkinsons.
Okay, so we had fun.
Right, we had fun today. I did the sound system. Which after today, again, it's another one of those events where I'm like, this is why I need to have my own sound system that I can take to these things, because all the control unit was right up there behind everybody. So if the volume need to be turned up, I need to go in behind the speaker or whoever's playing keyboard and mess with the stuff. So it's like, that's why I need to get the money around to where I can buy a sound system with, like, the biggest main thing is, like, if you have a snake. If you don't know what sound system stuff is, there's a item you can get called a snake, and they come in varying lengths from anywhere from like 25 feet to like 100 feet. And it's a box unit that will have like all your inputs for all your microphones, everything plug into it. And it has the outputs for the speakers that run to it. And there's a long cord that goes back to your control unit or your mixing board. And it has all the connections there. So like you plug, mic cord into 1, 2, 3, 4 channels, and so it matches up, on the box up there. So when they plug a mic into number 1 on there, it's number 1 on the channel here, and your speakers going out and all that. So that way you can have your mixing board out in the middle where everybody's at, so that actually the sound guy can hear everything that's going on, everybody else is hearing, and adjust accordingly on the fly. So eventually I want to, if we can ever, come up with $1,000 to $2,000 extra dollars, I would get the speakers and the snake and the powered mixing board and all that. That way, at Shavout or at Shavout or our 4th of July party that we have, or somebody's graduation party. What's some other events that we've went to? We're like, oh, we needed this. Could have used a sound system.
I don't know.
Shavout, 4th of July, graduation parties. Anyways, that's 4 good ones anyway, right there. Anyhow, so let's move on now to, I said I wanted to talk about some arguments that people make against the writings of the Apostle Paul. I had a discussion with a guy week before last, and he had read this paper out there. It's called the Paul paper. He said he spent 2 days reading it, and it's all these different arguments that people make against the writings of the Apostle Paul. And this guy flat out said to me that the Apostle Paul is a liar and a chameleon. And I'm like, what? And he said he's a chameleon because there's this passage where Paul says, I become all things to all people. So, he says, Paul's, being shady and being shifty and changing who he is. I'm like, that's not what I see Paul saying at all.
I'm listening.
Can you not play that, please?
Yeah.
That's not what I see Paul saying at all. When Paul says, I am all things to all people, how I take it, Paul is saying is, I know how to relate to people. I relate to people where they are at. I meet them where they're at. And I think we, we do that too. Like if I was going to sit and talk to a Christian about the Bible, I say Yeshua, but that Christian might not know who Yeshua is. They would know him as Jesus. So I'm going to say, instead of saying Yeshua and Yah or Yehovah, I would say Jesus and God, because that's the terms they know and they're going to understand what I'm saying. Just like, I wouldn't say, I don't generally say Ruach HaKodesh for Holy Spirit. I generally say Holy Spirit, but there are people that say, the Ruach or Ruach HaKodesh. But they're not, if you talk to a Christian, they're not going to know what you're talking about if you said, Ruach HaKodesh. They're going to know the Holy Spirit. Ben says, one of the damaging things Paul confused when he said about himself. Yeah, there's lots of things that Paul said that's confusing. So, but anyway, on that, it's like, I look at that, it's like, oh, they're using that as, a negative thing about Paul. And I'm like, I see that as a positive thing about Paul, that Paul is saying, hey, I know how to relate to people. I meet people where they are at, because I've even met Hebrew people that throw in so much Hebrew terminology on things that they're saying something that it's like, it's way up here over top of my head. And I've been in this walk for 5 years and you're talking over my head. How are you ever going to reach a Christian that's way down here on this level? So I see that as Paul saying, hey, I know how to meet people where they're at and reach people where they're at. I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a good thing. Are you coming back?
Yes.
Anyway, she's dealing with Eli. Any thoughts or comments on that point on Paul saying I am all things to all people, or I become all things to all people? Yes, no. I'm gonna look up that verse that way and make sure I'm not misquoting it.
You're finally home. Where did you go? You left before we did.
1 Corinthians 9.
Oh, it was hot today, y'all. It was so warm. That sounds delicious. Some lemonade. Actually, some ice from there sounds good.
So it's 1 Corinthians 9, starting in verse 19. For though I am free from all, I made myself a servant to all in order to win more. So he made himself a servant, which Yeshua tells us we should be servants, right? So he confesses that he makes himself a servant to all. Why? In order to win more. What was the point I was making? That he was meeting people where they were at so they would understand him. And to the Yehudim, I became as a Yehudi, that I might win Yehudim to those who are under Torah, as under Torah, so as to win those who are under Torah. To those without Torah, as without Torah, not being without Torah. So he's saying he can relate to those who are not under Torah, that even though he himself is not without the Torah Elohim, but under Torah of Messiah, as to win those who are without Torah. To the weak, I become as weak, so as to win the weak. To all men, I have become all, so as to save some by all means. And I do this because of the good news, as to become a fellow partaker with it. So he confesses right there that he can relate to people where they're at, whether they're a Jew, whether they're of the Torah, not of the Torah, whether they're weak. He does it so he can reach them where they're at.
But why does he do it that way?
So he can to save them, to, as he says right here, in order to win more.
Mm-hmm. But he's also doing it because it says to love your neighbor. That's how you love your neighbor. That's how you love others. When you become a jerk and you're cramming your beliefs down somebody's throat or arguing with them, that's not showing love. That's not meeting them where they're at. That's just having the I gotta be right all the time attitude. I do agree, though. Like, one of the things that we are big on, I just had this conversation with a cousin of mine, is that we're supposed to have Yeshua's heart. We're supposed to be like Yeshua. We're supposed to be like Jesus. and he had a servant's heart. And so to me, like when you love him and you love your neighbor, you have a servant's heart. Like when you actually truly are showing those things, your heart is to serve others. It's not, me. It's about others. Like you should do to your neighbor what you want your neighbor to do for you, or what you want somebody to do for you. I had a friend back in when I worked in my senior year of high school, and if he ever saw a woman or a lady, a mom, a daughter, an old lady, a teenager, whatever, if he ever saw a female on the side of the road that car was broke down, he always stopped to help them. Always. And which can kind of be scary if you see a teenage girl or a young girl and you're, an older gentleman and you're stopping, like it would be a little bit intimidating. But he always stopped. And I asked him back then, I said, why do you always stop? And he said, because if it was my sister or my mom that was on the side of the road, or he had a daughter, he said, if it was my daughter on the side of the road that needed help, I would hope that somebody would stop for them. And I'm like, that's the attitude that we should have towards everything.
Who was that?
I don't remember his name now. He always came into the gas station.
Oh. Okay.
But it was something that stuck out with me because I said that's how I want to raise my kids. That's if I have a boy, that's when back then I said, if I have a boy, that's how I want to raise him. It doesn't matter if you see her, she's more than capable of changing the tire and she's changing the tire. You should still stop and say, hey, would you like me to change this tire for you, ma'am? But that's my 2 cents.
That was Letha Nicholsworth. The other thing I wanted to talk about that a guy brought up about Paul is that he said that for centuries, people have used Paul's writings and misinterpreted them and twisted them into doctrines of lawlessness, which I agree they have. But you can't fault Paul for how other people twist his writings. And if you are going to use that as a basis to question Paul and to potentially throw Paul out, well, you're going to run into a huge problem, because in the same way that people twist Paul's writings and misinterpret them, they've also twisted the sayings of Yeshua that are recorded in the Gospels. And they also twisted the writings of Moses, the Torah, and the prophets, and turned those into doctrines of lawlessness as well. Prime example is you look at the Sadducees and the Pharisees. I can't remember which one's which now. One of those groups believes in the resurrection of the dead, and another group does not believe in the resurrection of the dead. Well, if you look at the prophets, Elijah and Elisha, there's examples of people being raised from the dead. So one of those two groups, I want to say it was the Sadducees, did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, I think. Somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong on that. Anyways, so one of those groups straight up just denies what the prophets say about that, of the examples of that happening. But also then too, the Pharisees have all of their man-made laws where they added to the laws of Moses. So they took Moses' writings and said, okay, well, God meant this and God meant this and God meant this. And so we have to do all these other things. So if people are going to take Paul's writings and say, hey, we have to question these writings because all these people over here twisted what Paul said, then in order to be using just weights and just measures, so the Pharisee, okay, Ben says I'm correct. So the Sadducees don't believe in, okay, so yes, Pharisees believe in resurrection, Sadducees do not.
Shaky.
Sorry. Okay, so thank you for helping me with that, Ben. So if you're going to say, if you're going to say, okay, we had to question these writings of Paul because all these people over here twisted his writings in the doctrines of lawlessness, well, to use just weights and just measures according to Torah, you then also have to question the sayings of Yeshua, and you have to question the Torah, and you have to question the prophets, because there's all kinds of examples of people taking those sayings, those writings, and those things and twisting them as well. So now here's the problem you run into. If you're going to start testing the Torah, what are you going to test the Torah against? You have nothing to test the Torah against, because the Torah is the foundation of truth. Psalms 119 to 142. Your righteousness is never rest in righteousness, and your law is truth. So if you have nothing to test the Torah,
hothead.
I'm not being a hothead. Philip said that's because they are sad, you see. Thanks, Philip. So if you have nothing to test the Torah against to see if it's true or not, and the reason for having to test the Torah is because there's people that's twisted its writings, well, therefore, you cannot just test Paul's writings because people have twisted the scriptures, because you have nothing then to test the Torah against. So you can't say, oh, we're going to test Paul's writings because people twisted these scriptures, without having to say also, well, we need to test the Torah too. But the problem is you have nothing to test the Torah against. So it doesn't work that way. That's not something that you can fault Paul for because somebody else twisted his writings. It doesn't work like that, because people twisted Moses' writings. People twisted the sayings of Yeshua. People twisted the examples given by the prophets. People are gonna twist it, and that's not in my opinion. I don't know what her opinion is, but in my opinion, that's not a legitimate reason to question the writings of Paul or throw out the writings of Paul. It doesn't fly. If you're going to do that based on that, you yourself are then adhering to unjust weights and unjust measures, and you yourself are in sin at that point. You are breaking Torah to do that. And now you've put yourself in the position of the man you're wanting to throw out. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Anything you want to add on that one?
No.
Nothing?
Nope.
You had something to add on the other one.
My opinion doesn't matter.
Your opinion does matter.
I don't have an opinion about this.
Okay.
I don't. I think that we spend entirely too much time arguing or disagreeing or fighting about who said this and what they said and what they meant, and Paul this and Paul that and the Torah this and the Torah that and whatever. I think we need to spend more time loving each other and showing each other by our fruit. You will know people by their fruit. And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're following your convictions and what we know is truth, then people will see that and they will question that. I've literally had family say, okay, most Christians, I have cousins who are, it's what it is. They're homosexuals. So literally I can sit down at the table and I can have a conversation with them and tell them how I feel and yet still love them. And they respect that. I don't fight with them about what they believe. I don't tell them that they're going to hell because of what they believe. I don't make them feel like dirt, because that's not my place. My place is to lead by example. My place is to show my fruit. And to still love them. And I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to, just be like all, happy, whatever for them, but I can still respect their decision, and that's their decision. They are the ones that are going to have to stand before the Father and deal with that judgment, not me. And so for me, they know how I feel. They know that I don't agree with it, and we can be fine. And I totally feel that way right now in the Torah community with all of the arguing and the crap that is going on right now. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous. It's taken us away from what the fundamentals, what we should be focusing on, which is loving Yeshua, living our life like he lived his life, or trying like hell to do it, and leading by example. We spend too much time fighting and arguing about what so-and-so is doing or what so-and-so says, and you're wrong, and everybody wants to be right. And that's not how it should be. Scripture says that in the end days, that people will become lovers of themselves. And I feel like when you're constantly going, this is what it says, then I'm correct and you're wrong, and I'm right and you're right, or I'm right and that's what it is, then you're basically putting your pride ahead of everybody else's.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh. Y'all, we might have to end this because it might turn into an argument.
You just said there's a scripture verse that says in the end days, people become lovers of themselves, right?
Well, it says that people, I don't know if it says in the end days, but it does say that people become lovers of themselves.
Right.
And there's a lot of narcissists these days.
Ben said, and sometimes I wonder if people are looking for followings by taking controversial stands. I can think of a few people like that. So, in the end days, or whatever point in time, people become lovers of themselves, right?
In the last days.
The last days. People become lovers of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. If the scripture tells us you are to love your neighbor as yourself, so what's wrong with being a lover of yourself then? If you're supposed to love your neighbor as you love yourself, but then first to love yourself is a bad thing.
I don't think that loving yourself is a bad thing. I think it's putting yourself above others is the bad thing. And when you love yourself to a certain degree, that's what you do. You become prideful and you're better than everybody else. You put yourself here and everybody else is below you. And I think that's what he just said, it becomes lovers of themselves. So was you correcting or saying that because I said the wrong word?
No, I'm not. I didn't say you said the wrong word. But if you look at it, that could appear to be the same exact thing, and one's painted in a positive light and the other thing's painted in a negative light. So people become lovers of themselves is the bad thing. But loving your neighbor as you love yourself is supposed to be a good thing. So if you love yourself, to the level you love yourself is how you're supposed to love your neighbor. But over here on this side, loving yourself or being a lover of yourself is a bad thing.
Well, I think it's because if you are putting yourself above others, that's the point. I don't know the whole verse. I will be flat out, like, I can say there's a verse that Gina and I have talked about that I know is in there, but I cannot find it and I can't quote it for like 100%. But there is a verse that it says that we were having this discussion the other day. No, I don't remember. That says that in order for you to see the truth, that your eyes have to basically be open to it. Like you literally have to cry out to the Father and ask him to show you the truth. He doesn't just say, here you go. You literally have to cry out and you literally have to seek him.
Okay, so here's what the verse says that you were...
Gina, you might remember the verse. I don't know. I just remember us reading
It's
together.
2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5. And I actually have it highlighted. You can see that. I have it highlighted. But know this, that in the last day, times shall come. Anybody have hard times? Give us this video if you've had a hard... Oh, wait. I won't know because we have 7 viewers and 7 thumbs up. Darn it. Anyway, hard times shall come, for men shall be lovers of self, lovers of silver or money, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, thankless. What are you pointing at me for?
I'm just saying, keep reading.
Thankless,
that you're that way. Sorry.
Wrongdoers, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, fierce, haters of good, betrayers, reckless, puffed up, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of Elohim, having a form of reverence but denying its power, and turn away from these.
There's a lot of that going on right now. Like,
Is that what you're looking for?
boasters, unforgiving, unloving. There is a lot of that going on right now. You can totally have an agreement or have a disagreement and still love each other. We don't all get along 100% of the time. We don't all believe the same things, but we should forgive each other and then move on. It shouldn't be something that is constantly thrown in your face.
Ben said this describes our whole society.
Pretty much. But it's not even just the outside world. There are so many Torah followers who deal with these things too. And we're not innocent because we have our own issues and
She
things
does. She does. She's talking about herself.
I don't care. I'm not proud. I don't have too much pride to say that, you know what? I struggle.
We all struggle. I was just making a joke. But you can see how it's confusing, though, how being a lover of self, but yet you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. Ben said, we have a friend who mulled over this passage for years, especially the having a form of godliness denying its power. And what did the friend come to?
I think we spend.
I think like being lovers of self. I think that means like, I think it has to be like a reference to vanity. Like you're like in love with yourself. You're like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah, but wouldn't that fall under the same category as I'm here and everybody else is down here?
You don't have to have everybody else down here for you to be like in love with yourself.
I think that if you're going, look at me, then you've put yourself higher than everybody else.
It could be.
I don't know. I think that we should meet. I do 100% believe we should meet people where they are. And that, you know what? Sometimes that there's somebody who's probably still in the chat room that, and I'm going to say this because she knows, but the first time that I met her, I was like, nope, not happening. It ain't happening. And I told him, I said, we will never be friends ever, because her energy level was like through the roof. And I just wasn't that way. I'm still not that way, but
MTHFR.
But now I love her to death, and she is like in my top 5 favorite people.
You're welcome.
Shut up.
Ben said concerning his friend who mulled over that passage, he said he felt that it was far harder to know God and took much more care and attention than we realized.
But I say that about this person because I'm saying that even though you meet somebody, the first time you meet them or you spend a week with them, you still might be like, I don't know about this. But when you put your own self aside and you actually spend time with them and get to know them, then you might see something else. And you might be able to become friends with them.
Good. Boy, it's like nothing but Ben for like the last dozen comments.
No, Chrissy's in there. She says, I agree with you, Cassie.
Yeah, but she's way up at the top. But there's a whole string of nothing but Ben.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But anyway, that's all we had for tonight.
Samson and Tara.
Hey, Samson and Tara. Speaking of meeting people for the first time, I remember meeting them for the first time. at Take on the World. You're all down at the campsite, and I walk down.
And I just get in the car and randomly meet somebody and say, "Hey, come to dinner."
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
But I walk down to the campsite, and I'm like, oh, there's people at our campsite that I don't know. Who are they? And I thought maybe like they were like next door, like camping next to us. No, they weren't. They were like at another part. So you guys just...
We walked out of the building, and I don't remember why we started talking to them, but for some reason, Gina and I started talking to them. And then when we got in the car to drive down to the campsite, they were walking to the campsite. And I was like, we should invite them to dinner. She's like, should we? And I was like, yeah, we should. So she rolled the window down and said, hey, you guys should come have dinner with us. We're getting ready to make dinner. And it was Friday night. And so we stopped and asked them if they wanted to eat with us. And then they said, yeah. And so Gina and I went and started making dinner. And then when they came over, they were like so excited because it was the first time that they'd ever had Shabbat dinner with anybody. Like they've always just had it just them and their kids. They never had experienced having Shabbat dinner with anybody. And it was like, okay, Father, bless your heart.
Southern hospitality.
Samson has blessed his heart.
Bless your heart. Samson, he's I was like a little intimidated at first.
Why?
Because he got this big old long beard and he kind of gave off this like Viking vibe to me.
Viking,
yeah, he gives off this Viking vibe. So I'm like, am I man enough for this guy? You know, am I gonna be on his level, or am I gonna feel y'all like, beta, so
that was funny. I think Philip walked down or drove down and was like, who's these strange people at our table?
No, Ben, the bless your heart. Well, Tara said it like twofold. It's bless your heart as in like bless your heart as y'all invited, but also there was a joke that came out during our time of hanging out that in the South, bless your heart basically means you're an idiot.
And Samson didn't know that.
Right.
So now it's like this running joke when you say bless your heart.
Yeah. Yep. His beard is even bigger now. I've figured out that I don't look good with the big long beard. And let me show you. Ooh. This was what, 2 years ago?
I think so.
2 years ago.
Gina did it, so it might have been 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh crap! I don't know if we can see that without the reflection. It's hard to see it, but look at that beard. Is there, if I turn it at an angle, there we go, like that.
You
okay,
can see it.
There we go. Look at that beard. I look horrible with that big old beard.
It's bushy. We need an updated version. I think it is 2. Gina, if you're still in here, is that 2 or 3 years ago?
I think it's 2 years ago.
So because yesterday was Sabbath, and then today was a high day, no remodel stuff got done. And the house is a hot mess for me being gone.
So you're gonna be busy this week getting caught up.
Yeah, I gotta finish garden stuff, and which I'll have help with that. And then we got to organize some stuff in here and figure some stuff out, and then I need to make seats.
I've been trying to get rid of the dryer.
The chickens are fabulous. They keep jumping out of their
one or two of them will jump on top of the water canister and then jump on top.
Over.
Scott's still got to get a lid made for it so they can't jump out. But they're doing good. They're getting big. They got big in a week.
It sucks now that I'm not supposed to be having chickens or eggs. What's the point?
I can still have chickens and eggs. And we'll get you reset. Don't worry. We'll get you reset. You can't be a homesteader and not eat chicken and eggs. Although, was venison on that list?
No, actually it wasn't.
Oh, we got some venison. Shoot some more deer. If I could, I'd take the laptop in there and show you all the chickens, but they eat the bugs still. That's still good. That's true. They do.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Gina, how many guinea did y'all get today? Gina still in?
I don't think so because she hasn't answered.
Oh, okay.
Philip.
Gina, Philip, anybody? Bueller. Anyway. What do you got? Anything coming up this week that you got to do? We got the call from Dr. Almanzo, right? That's this week?
So, yes.
What day is it? Like Thursday?
Yes. Thursday is the video or the call. And then that's it that we got going on this week. I can't believe it's already June.
Not till tomorrow.
I can't believe it's already
Actually,
almost June.
2 hours away for us.
Yeah, it's crazy. Set it. We're in an hour and 20 minutes.
I think that's it. That can be it.
Oh, by the way, I chipped my phone again.
I seen it look like there was
I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, your screen protector.
There was like a lump on it, and I thought it was like had food or something, and I scraped it, and it came off, and then it was like there.
You probably could take it to AT&T, and they could put a new one on, would be my guess, but I don't know.
There's a chip right there in that.
And you complain about me being hard on my phone.
I've never, ever been hard on my phone. Ever. I always return my phone. Like, it looks brand new. This one isn't going to look brand new.
The phone will. The screen cover will not.
No, because there's an actual chip in it.
Oh, is there?
Right there.
That's still the screen protector. That's not in your screen itself.
Oh,
that's just a bubble in the screen protector. Well, we're going to call it quits. An hour and 21 minutes. Come up an hour and 22. Thank you all for tuning in.
I don't know why you do.
She said she doesn't know why y'all watch us.
I don't.
She told somebody that today. Who was it that she told that to? Oh, Mama Pepper, right?
Yeah.
So, be in prayer for some friends of ours.
Don't say names if you're not supposed to.
I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
Because we love you. Ben says the tune because we visit. See? Those who live in Siloam and those who live 15 minutes up the road and those who will be living 15 minutes up the road.
Oh, yeah. There's people moving here this week.
And there's some other friends of ours that are selling their home and moving off. They're basically going to be almost off grid. They weren't intending to be off grid, but they've got a camper that they're moving into. So be praying for them because they're in a little bit of a stress with that situation. And there's so there's a little bit of stress in that situation with them. And there's people that are going to be moving here. And there's other people that are in the process of getting a home. So yes, just be praying for close friends of ours. Because moving can be very, very stressful. So this is one of those times where it's like, I wish I had a local, home every night job because I'd be, busting my butt in the evenings when I got off work to help them out. So. But anyway,
yeah, the Wednesday, one of them is moving out, and then that night, Wednesday morning, somebody's moving out, and then Wednesday night, somebody's moving into the house. So it's going to be a little on the
stress side.
It's going to be a stress.
No, not from Michigan.
Who's heading our way from Michigan?
The Rafflers.
No, the Almases are moving.
They were here earlier.
And
Jessica was here earlier too. Is she still watching, I wonder, or not? She might be gone taking care of Rory.
We're getting boring.
So, okay. We be out of here. I was going to tell you one thing. Woohoo! Good for them. Tonight when I was over standing by the water, I was facing Zach, standing there talking to Zach, and two girls come out of the sliding glass door right there, and one of them was talking. I'm like, that's Tara. I turned, it was Aaliyah, not Tara. I was like, you sound just like your mother. I'm like, I heard you talking. I said, that's Tara. And I turned and it was you. And she starts laughing. But anyway, okay, so closing out the show with that hour and 25 minutes. Thank you all for tuning in. Love y'all. Make sure if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up before you leave. We appreciate it. And if you haven't, ring that bell. It's supposed to help Al Gore with his rhythm. I don't know for sure why. But ring that bell. It helps him. We love y'all. We'll see you next week.